All right, I should be live right about now. This is, let's see if it's kicking off live. Got a bunch of people jumping in the room already, waiting for this to go live, and it should be live. It doesn't say that it's live. It says connect streaming software to preview. Let's see here. Are we on? Are we live? I think we're live. So anyhow, let's get started. This has been a while. I'm streaming at 8 p.m. tonight. There is no deep dive this evening, so I was actually planning on coming on a little bit later. But as I started getting this set up, I realized that I had posted that the stream was going to start at 8. So I decided, hey, you know what? If it's posting 8, we're rolling this thing out at 8, and that's just how it goes. So we're going to have a little bit of enjoyment here watching. There we go. All right. I think this is going. I think this is going. I'm having a little bit of an issue between YouTube identifying whether or not I'm on and and the actual go live here. It says connect streaming software to go live, which I am live. Do you guys actually see me? Um, I see people bouncing in over here. I see people over in that chat over there. I hope I don't have two different chats going on right now. There we go. Looks like we got some people bouncing in. Connie, Richter, Tina Hall. If you guys are on, let me know. I think I've got two different chats going on, so I got to get this figured out. It's a little confusing, a little disconcerting here with this new YouTube setup. Jerry, yes, this is just a hologram of me. This isn't the real me. Um, Let me see here. This is kind of crazy. Is Connie in the stream? Am I missing something? I've got Patsy Green bouncing in. Simon, good to see you here. Let me see here. Just give me a second. I don't know why. I'm trying to get this figured out. I can't figure out. I was trying to use the original YouTube setup, no problems, and then I bounce over here, and that's where all of a sudden I got a problem here. See, tweeted, put it in the chat groups. Okay, I'm seeing Connie chiming in over there, and nobody's over here. I'm not seeing the same connection. This is ridiculous. Let me see. No stream health, no data. This isn't even working over here. Not even sure what's going on with this thing. Let me see. Let me just back up out of it. Let's see. It does. Let's see. Stream. I wonder what the title of this stream is then. Let's see. That one is still there. Completely useless. Unbelievable. YouTube, got to get your act together. This is absolutely horrendous. All right. So it looks like I've got two different streams going at the same time. Let's see. And that's exactly what happened. Unbelievable. So I've got, let me see here. So it actually went live with the wrong information. So this is the thumbnail from last week's stream. I started creating the thumbnail from this week's stream in YouTube, and it doesn't work. Absolutely a disaster. Absolute disaster. So we're not talking about XRP deleted tax in-game money or anything like that. This is absolutely incorrect. YouTube, thank you very much. But you've absolutely degraded the platform that was once very easy to use. You dummied it down to a point where it's almost impossible to use. Unbelievable. So now I'm trying to actually get back to where we were streaming to. I'm going to try to fix all this as we're going. And here it is. It shows set a reminder. There's the one that I was supposed to be streaming on this evening. And here's the one that actually went live. So I've got 19 people on the one that's live. That's great. We'll get some more people bouncing in here. And now I got to figure out how to get rid of the one that it's saying is actually premiering. And it isn't. So let me see if I can get rid of it. And then I'm going to have to, while we're talking, I'm going to have to make some changes to the original one. Let me see what I can do here. Hang on a second. Stand by while I do this so it doesn't create too much chaos. In the meantime, throw some, let me open up my chat over here. In the meantime, chat amongst yourselves. let's have some good conversation going. We aren't talking about XRP deleted my account. That was last week. Today we're going to be talking about the fact that that fiat is being dethroned. What's up, King Blue? Good to see you here. We're going to talk about the fact that fiat is being dethroned by cryptocurrency. That's what it's going to be about. That's what we want to talk about today. And there's a lot of things happening in regards to that, and that's kind of what we want to go over today. So as we're doing this, this is this is kind of crazy to have to try to do this on the fly. So let me do this. Boom. Fix that. Now the question is if I can change the thumbnail midstream while we're doing this. I can. Check that out. All right, here we go. Let's make some adjustments. Let's make this the way we want it to be, not the way YouTube wanted it to be. And we are almost there. So here we go. Here we go. Okay, one more second. This is crazy. This is absolutely insane to have to do this. But I don't want people to be thrown off and say, hey, I didn't come here to talk about the dethroning of digital asset or fiat by digital asset. I came here to talk about what we talked about last week. So the theme of today's stream is actually central bank digital currency is a reality. And the fact that we're actually seeing countries around the world that are absorbing or are moving rapidly in the direction of digital currency. So they've identified the fact that digital currency is a reality. So we have CBDCs, or the central bank digital currencies, conversations that are popping up everywhere. And really one of the places that I wanted to start, which I thought was really interesting, has to do with Russia. So a lot of things happened over this past week. We've also seen the fact that the coronavirus is really, making strides around the world. So we're seeing, more and more development with the coronavirus. But we're also seeing countries reacting at a faster and faster pace when it comes to stopping what's happening with the coronavirus. Now, when it comes to what's going on in the digital currency space, viruses and things like that at this point aren't going to stop it either. But we also are seeing movements and trends and discussions of what could potentially could be happening from an economic perspective. So let me give a quick shout out to Simon, I Bank Freely. His question: can someone tell me why XRP is being declared a security, or being declared a security would be a bad thing? That's a great question. So there's I guess a couple different ways of approaching that. Let's talk about that, because this is something that is right at the top of of the news. So if you guys are getting lagged, let me know. Definitely let me know. Tina, thanks. Yeah, you got left in the other stream. Didn't mean that. Somehow, as I was mentioning YouTube, I'm trying to create this stream within YouTube, and it doesn't connect as seamlessly as it used to. So sorry about that. If you guys are seeing any lag, let me know. Definitely shout that out. But can XRP being declared a security be a bad thing? At this point in time, it could be a bad thing, mainly because of the claims within the court identifying the fact that they had, from that perspective, then were selling a security when they weren't authorized to do so. The ramification of it could be pretty severe. But we're also then talking about if they then were selling these digital asset, and it is then seen by the courts that it's a security, you're going to have a buyback. There's going to have to be a solution to take the digital currency off the table, off the market. There would be a mass buyback. And so from that perspective, it could be have negative impact based on what the court then would decide. But that being said, there's also been a lot of discussion about what would happen if Ripple launched an IPO. So that's an interesting topic and an interesting direction for a conversation. We can get to that if we have some time. We'll get to that in a little bit. I just want to throw out a quick announcement. There will not be a deep dive this evening. So deep dive next Thursday at 10 p.m. Definitely tune back in next Thursday at 10 p.m. For deep dive. But let's dig in. So we want to look at the movement of what's happening within the space. We want to look at what is happening from a national perspective, from the highest level. We're talking about at the country level. We're talking about government. We're talking about the normalization of digital currency by the central banks, by government, and this identification at this point that digital currency, cryptocurrency are the thing. So, Jade, so no deep dive tonight. Next Thursday, 10 p.m., we will resume with deep dive. So, sorry, there's no deep dive tonight. So let's see what we got here. All right. So what I wanted to start with, and this was an article that popped up this past week. So there's a lot of things happening. So here we are. We have countries that are moving in the direction of normalization of digital currency, the acceptance of the central banks utilizing and rolling out their own digital currency. And we see some countries that are in test mode right now. Russia, on the other hand, is actually going the other direction, as we've seen some other countries like India that have made things very difficult. So what we have here, so I don't know what's going on here. Let's see. Jeff left us. Where did I go? Am I not here? I don't know. Where did I go? I don't know where I went. Am I not here? Here, it looks like I'm still there. I'm looking at the streaming, or I'd leave you guys in the other room. Sorry about that. That was it. I just abandoned ship. So here's Russia. So if you go back about a year and a half ago, we had the other stream. If you go back about a year and a half ago, it's interesting because you started to look at the transition of India as there was a lot of discussion and controversy over digital asset, over the exchanges. And India decided for multiple reasons to pull out of digital currency, to create an environment where they saw digital currency as being in conflict with the growth of their old legacy economy, and they banned exchanges. They made it extremely difficult for those exchanges, basically made it illegal. And then you saw the dissolution of exchanges throughout India. And India should be really, if we go back into that conversation, should be on the forefront of the normalization of this blockchain technology, the normalization of the crypto space, just based on the growth of that country and the growth trajectory of that country, as it has been for a number of years, and in the direction that it's going. Digital currency blockchain technology should be a big part of what India is working at. India should be a big part of it. However, like India, Russia has taken an interesting turn with and in regards to digital currency. And so this was an article. It actually showed up on the, let's see, it was on February 20th. So about a week ago, this popped up, and just as a blip to it, it says Russia's Federal Security Service, the successor of the KGB, agreed with Central Bank of Russia that cryptocurrency should not be allowed as a means of payments on the territory of Russia. So this is definitely, a change, because at the same time, you're starting to see that and this again is from the article, but we saw some positive directions coming from Russia, as we've seen in other areas where there's a normalization and acceptance of the digital space, of the blockchain space. But then now it is definitely in conflict, and so now they've agreed to ban cryptocurrency as a means of payments. Don't know how that's going to impact or reflect on whether or not their central bank at some point will try to roll out their own cryptocurrency, their own digital currency, similar to the way China reacted to it. So let me see here. XRP New Zealand. Am I in Italy? Hey man, that's a good eye. That is Lake Como. So actually a picture from a couple months ago when we were in Lake Como. So would love to be back there right now, but it definitely a beautiful area. Let's see. Mike G, India complete 180. Yeah, it's been extremely difficult there. So Russia. Now as we bounce away from Russia, and this is what, as I started putting this stuff together, I'm looking through these different articles over the past week, and I said this is interesting, because as you see one country kind of change things and move away, we see a whole host of other countries that are moving in the direction of acceptance, and it's amazing, because with acceptance comes the normalization of this space. So one of the things that I've talked about a lot on videos is utility, the significance of utility, the impact of utility of the digital assets, of blockchain as a technology, and what does that mean for the growth and expansion in the space. What that means that with the growth and expansion in the space, when you have utility of the digital asset and utility of the blockchain tech, it expands. And with the expansion of the space comes more development in the space. With more development in the space, you have a rise and increase in the value of the space. And so without full utility, it's just a speculative gamble, basically, and that's what we saw a lot. So if you have just digital assets being thrown out there and there's no potential utilization, then you have to really consider what what for. What is it really for at that point. Hey, Spanish Fly, good to see you here, glad you made it in. And let's see, so hang on a second. I've got these some of these articles kind of out of whack because I had a flow here. There's so much going on. So this was in Euro money. So here we are over this past week. It's just article after article after article of countries and central banks talking about digital currencies. And so this was an article is in Euro money. Interesting, because the title of this article is How Central Bank Digital Currencies Will Take Over the World. And it's crazy. So just right out of the gate in this article, it starts talking about first central banks ignored cryptocurrencies, then they mocked them, next they fought them, and now they're building their own. And it says here, before long, central bank digital currencies will be in use with possibly startling consequences. Then they talk about what it means for privacy and personal freedoms. So yes, we've talked about that a lot in other videos that we've made in the roundtable. I know it's come up multiple times, but here again we're seeing this trend in the movement of what this really means, of countries, central banks adopting the normalization of the digital currency. Yo, hey Ferdy, good to see you on. Glad you made it. So as I look through that, so I say, okay, so here we have what was it? Euro Money talking about it. Then there's this other site called Ledger Insights. So ledgerinsights.com. They also had a great article, and this came out just 2 days ago. This was this was really focused in on Europe's blockchain infrastructure starts to go live. So now we're starting to see this normalization taking place. Before it was a lot of hands off. They didn't want any part of it. They're just kind of not ignoring it per se, but you started to see some countries within the Eurozone like Italy, Spain, Portugal. You started to see a lot of countries that were beginning to accept digital asset, but now it's becoming more of a norm as that rolled out. So this was interesting too, because when they talk about Europe's blockchain infrastructure, they're focusing here on the different nodes that are coming online. So here's one. They said as of February 12th, the first Belgian node of the European Blockchain Services Infrastructure. So it's called the EBSI, the European Blockchain Services Infrastructure. So now as they start having these nodes, that is now the movement and the development within Europe, because this again is following under the EU. So here it says here, the goal of the EBSI is to enable cross-border public services within the EU with security and privacy. So as they create this infrastructure, you begin to get the normalization. All of a sudden, digital currency will eclipse fiat, and then you see the blockchain, and now you see a whole migration in that direction. As Europe goes, so will many of the other countries out there. The U.S. is still trailing behind for multiple reasons due to obviously regulatory uncertainty and the powers that be not addressing it with the speed for which they probably should be. Now, this was interesting because in this same article that was on Ledger Insights, it said in 2018, so we're talking about 2 years ago, EU member states created what is called the European Blockchain Partnership, or the EBP. And they did that, actually the EBP, the European Blockchain Partnership, was established in order to develop and build out the European Blockchain Services Infrastructure, or the EBSI. So now we're talking about 2 years ago. Now the EBP, which again, the European Blockchain Partnership, has 30 signatory countries, which are all the EU states, as well as non-EU members like the UK, Norway, and Liechtenstein. So now we see what the trend is, and this again is the basis. This is the epicenter of everything that's going to be needed for the normalization from a central bank perspective, from a country perspective, for the inner workings between countries. And again, they're talking about the cross-border public services of the EU, cross-border payments. There's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be built out, for this normalization to occur. So then, as we start jumping around and we say, okay, what else is happening? So here, we see that there's a lot of trend within the countries, within the central banks that are adapting and adopting. Sweden. And this just was reported also about a week ago, where Sweden is testing Europe's first central bank digital currency. So you have all the infrastructure being built out. You have a lot of discussion of what's going to happen. You have this normalization and this movement towards normalization. And then you have a country like Sweden that actually dives in and starts beta testing the central bank digital currency, the very first in Europe. And so, and as you start moving around, you say, okay, maybe that's just Sweden. And obviously, we see this normalization. We see all these things happening. Then, this was like 3 days ago. This was an article that came out on Bitcoinist.com. Bank of England adds support for central bank currency. So it says here, the latest voice adding to the chorus of support for a digital currency is that of Sarah John, the Bank of England's chief cashier. She says that it's crucial that central banks take action first, meaning that if they don't take action, others will. It's also critical that England takes action. It's important that the West takes action. It's important that we see normalization of this space from their perspective. On the other side of it, and it's interesting too, because if you think about the original intent and purpose of the Bitcoin and the Bitcoin maxis, the Bitcoin narrative was to get rid of banks and to do without the banks. What the banks are identifying at this point, and we're seeing this movement, this trend faster and faster, is that you can't go without banks. You need banks. And I've talked about this narrative for a long time, that if banks go away, they're only going to be replaced by other banks. So you have the digital currency exchanges, you have the Upholds, the Coinbase, the Bitstamps, the Bittrews, you've got Coinfield, you've got Coinbase, you've got all these different digital asset exchanges out there. They're all migrating and moving into this quasi-bank space. You also have the new project coming up called Sum that is moving in the banking space. We heard a little bit about the intent of where Bitrue has plans of going. We see what Binance is doing. We see everybody dabbling in the interest-bearing accounts. We see dabbling in the lending of the digital currency, digital asset space. The banks are looking and watching all of this stuff going on, and they're saying, hey, you know what? Maybe we need to get a part of this. We can't keep letting this trend. We also know that for the normalization of this space, everyone at those levels, government, central bank, they've identified that the legacy system is antiquated. It's time to move on, and it's going to happen fast, and it's starting to trend faster and faster. And it's interesting too, because as the UK is trending and saying, okay, a UK digital currency is likely to happen, at the same time we've seen Japan with plans for a CBDC. We see China doing the same thing. And so you're starting to see this promise of movement into this direction. Now, while all that's going on, let me see here. Where did this one go? This isn't it. All right, great. Here we go. Okay, so if you jump over the pond, not necessarily to the U.S., but you come over to the Bank of Canada, and the Bank of Canada is laying the groundwork for digital currency. And this was an article that came out. This was on Bloomberg. When was this? February 25th, so 2 days ago. Bloomberg had an article, Bank of Canada lays the groundwork for digital currency. So that's interesting. Now, so they're moving in that direction. They need to identify what the need is. Right now, they don't necessarily see the need. However, it says the Bank of Canada is laying the groundwork to introduce a digital currency should the need for one emerge. Now, what is the criteria of the should the need for one emerge? Does it mean when everywhere else in the world has adopted, then Canada, in order to participate, in that digital currency market space, they're going to then have to roll one out and introduce their own. We have seen where Canada's thought process is, as they've, as they have addressed different potential use cases of a digital currency within the blockchain space. One of those studies was specifically focused on how can we get people to pay taxes. Well, you put them on blockchain, you get them to use a digital currency, you're going to make sure that people are paying their taxes. It kind of goes hand in hand. So let me look over at the chat here. Got some other stuff to cover, but let's see if we can engage with the chat. I know you guys. There were some interesting comments that came in here, other than Carl mentioning that I forgot to comb my hair today. So that's always perfect. The price of XRP, along with everything else, seems to have gone down a little bit today. So let's see here. And that's it. Okay, that's interesting, Jade. Maybe I skipped some stuff in here, but you said even people at work, where'd it go? Even people at work only know BTC, and that's it. And that's interesting. So it's kind of the first in what people have identified. They've identified a terminology. I mean, we might even get to a point where everything becomes a Bitcoin. As the digital currency, as it happens in certain areas, with the language. If you think about certain parts of the country, they call they call soda. So you've got the name for soda. It could be soda. I think in North Carolina, everything is a Coke. It doesn't matter what kind of Coke. They say, what kind of Coke do you want? In the Midwest, they call soda pop. In the Northeast and in the Southeast, it's soda. In some areas, I don't know if they still call it soda pop. There's all these different terminologies for soda. But you think about it, you get that, the general idea that, even with a digital currency, could it end up being that it becomes a Bitcoin or a Bitcom, as we know some in Congress have referred to it as, mainly because they don't choose to educate themselves on what's really happening. So pop, that's a Midwest. Bitcoin, the Kleenex of the crypto, exactly. So that could definitely happen. But that's why people understand that part of it for some reason. There's so many different digital assets that it's easier when you have that general terminology that everybody identifies with. So let's see. Vetbro over here trying to explain decentralized smart contracts to people who don't know what proof of work is. You would also have to assume that they know what digital asset and blockchain is to start with. So maybe we just you mentioned just the simplicity of the cross-border payment, that your payments are going to be faster and less costly. If you're a business owner, you might not have to pay the 3% transaction cost every time someone utilizes a credit card. Maybe there's a better way to do things, and this is interesting. So, I'm glad you guys brought this up. So here's the problem, and one of the problems within the legacy currency, and it's something that I identified years and years ago. We're doing business overseas, and I was trying to figure out how can I help people in India and people in countries like Venezuela where the hold on digital currency, on foreign exchange is tight. So years ago in Venezuela, in order to qualify to get U.S. dollars, you had to write a proof case to the government that the U.S. dollars that you're acquiring with your Bolivare those U.S. dollars are actually going to be used to buy product that's going to be brought back into Venezuela and sold. And then you have to show what your business plan is, what the profit potential is, and you have to really write out a full business proposal to give to the government, to give to the banks, to get the government approval, to get your US dollars to go over and buy your product. And then you had to worry about the exchange rates with the government at a time when even this goes back years and years ago. I'm talking, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, where the gray market for currency exchange over in Venezuela was unbelievable. I remember a friend of mine telling me he could go over with US dollars and he could triple his money over there just by exchanging currency and bringing US dollars over there. That was the value of what he could exchange it into in Bolivre. Now over in India, one of the biggest issues that I had moving product over there was the fact that their currency fluctuations were so extreme. Day to day, they could have these wide currency fluctuations, and sometimes goods would be sitting there ready to go, and they would say, no, we have to wait because we're waiting for a favorable exchange rate. And I said, forget your favorable exchange rate. Just you're going to have to absorb the difference. You just got to keep business moving forward. But it didn't work that way because those exchange rate changes could equate to thousands of dollars in differential in pricing, and that was extreme. So when I started looking at this goes back years ago, I said, there's got to be a better way. And that's when I saw Bitcoin for the first time. I saw it as a potential solution. I said, hey, this would be amazing. Let me figure this out. And then I dropped it. I said, no, this is going to be way too complex. Had I had a little bit more foresight to investigate it further at that point, this was probably like 2014, maybe I would have seen a bigger buy-in opportunity for something amazing happening. But my point with that is that the legacy system has been broken for many, many years, and it's extremely difficult to navigate this broken system for multiple reasons when you're dealing with these cross-border payments. Having digital currency issued by the central banks can help speed up the process. The Eurozone with the EBSI to simplify this process within the EU of this normalization, if they roll out the digital EU, could be interesting for them. But how do you get the digital currency from one central bank to the next? From let's say one day there's an Indian central bank currency, digital currency, and then you have the U.S. Digital currencies, and you have the euro, then you have the pound, then you've got the yen version of the digital currency, and you have the yuan over in China, and you've got all these different digital currencies out there. You still need some interconnectivity. You need a bridge asset in order to properly transact all of these digital currencies, because you're still going to have an exchange rate and variability and all these other things. So there's still some complexity within or legacy complexity built in. However, within the blockchain digital currency space, there's still a very nice bridge currency out there, and a company that has been developing a solution to be built in this space. The company is Ripple. The digital currency there is XRP as that bridge through the ledger. And there's all, through the XRP ledger, there's the true functionality of the products of the different digital assets and digital currencies. Interesting, how that can function. Even interesting how it functions just utilizing the legacy fiat system, and being able to more seamlessly and less costly transact fiat through a new modern technology within the digital space. Now, what I'm thinking about is, so here's my story that dated back to 2014, and then I fast forward till today. Today, again, here we are. I needed to have somebody transfer money business to business, and the first time he was sending money, I said, okay, I guess you have to give a check. I don't, I'd prefer you to do a bank wire. It'll be there today. Go ahead. write a check. What am I going to do with a paper check? I had to send it to my office, to the accounting, and I had to FedEx it over there. So like this is doesn't make any sense. Here I am FedExing it. So the next check, this was a couple days ago, or the next payment, I said, okay, forget that, just wire the money. It's going to be so much easier for everybody. So he goes to wire money, and I have our admin give him the bank wire transfer information. A couple of days go by, no money in the account. I'm like, where's the money? How long can it take to send money from one bank in the United States to another bank in the United States? It doesn't take 3 days to move the money. And so I call him up. I said, hey, your money hasn't arrived, and then he said, I sent it. I said, okay, and it was accepted. I said, okay. So I call our accounting person. I said, well, where's the money? And she says, well, did he send it ACH or did he send it bank wire? I said, well, that's a good question. Typically, internationally we use bank wire. Domestically, sometimes you have limitation. It's not so clear in your banking app whether it's an ACH or bank wire. What's the difference? Does one take longer? Is one faster? There's a little bit of confusion, but there's two separate numbers. So he ended up sending it. He was trying to send an ACH utilizing our bank wire number. So obviously it got rejected. So here I am. I say, okay, days go by. There's two different numbers. The banking software can't identify an ACH number from a bank wire number. There's the confusion in their software. ACH, I think, stands for America Clearinghouse, which is the routing. It's kind of like the SWIFT of the domestic wire transfers. So it goes. So the bank wire number, which I think might be bank to bank. I'm not sure where that transacts. So it goes to the ACH, the America Clearinghouse. I think that's what it stands for. It gets lost. It gets kicked back. Meanwhile, if you do a bank wire, it costs $30. $30 to do a bank wire, domestic bank wire, $30. What in the world costs $30 for me to move my money to somebody else? And utilizing your service, you're going to charge me $30 to make that happen. Whereas an ACH, an expedited ACH, apparently costs $10. A regular ACH costs $3. You're still going through a clearinghouse, but a regular ACH can take 3 days. An expedited ACH is overnight, and a bank wire is 4 hours. So take all of that stuff into consideration. This long story that I just told is the life that we live in the legacy system. Now imagine if you compare that with a digital currency, digital asset, blockchain-based solution and I'm sitting there thinking, man, if only I could just send digital currency. If I could just say, hey, you know what? Forget about it. Why don't you just get on your app and just transact some money over to me utilizing this new bank that is all based on Ripple's solution domestically, or maybe it's using whatever platform, but it's on the XRP ledger, or it's using the Stellar network, or it's using whatever it might be using. Imagine that. He could have sent me the money. I would have the money. There's no 4-hour waiting. There's no $30 cost. There's no $10 cost. There's no $3 cost. Just transact your money to me. I'm going to have your $20,000. I'm happy. You're happy. Everybody's happy. And I could see it right there immediately. That's the reality of where we're moving to. And that's exactly why I'm saying that fiat is going to be dethroned. Fiat will no longer be the king of the cash space. Fiat is going to be dethroned and replaced by cryptocurrency. And that's real world utility happening right now today. Direct experience that I just relayed that story. That's a real story happening that happened just a couple hours ago. So let me look at this. So let's see here. Carl Lewis, they really should come up with a solution. Let me see here. Hang on. There we go. That's what I was trying to get to. Jade, you threw up a few questions here. Alex Yeet, XRP is no joke. We're the new 1%. Well, depending on how much you accumulate and also depending on the movement of where it ends up going. VetBro, we just need XRP to bridge all these walled gardens. There's a ton of walled gardens out there that need to be corrected. Things need to be moved in the right direction. But I was trying to get to this other one. You were talking about buying a house. Here we go. Jade had said, still unclear why Ripple has so many NDAs. I'm imagining due to the SEC. Very likely that's the definite possibility. NDAs are critical, especially in that space, especially considering the growth and the company they're trying to take on, which is Swift. We know everybody's kind of working in that space from that perspective. You got the R3, you've got Ripple, and you've got Swift. So that's I think critical, and who knows what else is going on that they can't let out of the bag. But Jade said here, when I bought my house and had to transfer funds, I asked the escrow group if they heard of Ripple, and they said no. I explained what they do, and they were interested. I think about this all the time. So from a real estate perspective, imagine, when you get into this blockchain and you think about the movement of money and you think about the contracts that are signed for the mortgages, for whatever it might be, when you're signing your life over when you buy a property, and you think about the costs involved in moving all this money and the documentation process, and you're getting this mortgage and the blah, 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 whatever, and think about if it's on the blockchain, you could just sign it. There you go. It's signed. I'm done. It's one time. Let it disseminate and distribute to whoever needs it. Yeah, there's my money. You got my money. It doesn't take that long to move it now from this bank to that bank. There's no delays. There's no BS. It just happens. It's just very straightforward. It's clear. There's no big cost involved. There's no administrative paperwork. There's no stamping. There's no reams and reams of paper and multiple signatures. Similar to when you buy a car. You go sit there, okay, I want to lease this car. Give me a 3-page document. I'm going to sign. I'm going to take this car. Nope. You go to do your finance on the car, and it's like, you got to sign off. They print it out. It takes like 30 minutes to print it out on one of those old dot matrix printers. You hear that, and they're printing out this thing for your car lease. And then you're sitting there signing it, and all the words are so small you can't read anything that's on there, yet you're signing your life away to lease a damn car. It's ridiculous. So here you are, trying to do all this stuff, but that's the legacy system at work. Whether it's your automotive group where you're buying or leasing a car, your real estate, or when you're trying to do business and you're trying to send money from one person to another, from a business perspective, it just doesn't work. It's just antiquated and a pain in the ass. So sorry about that. Missed you, James. What's up, man? Good to see you here. And then, so the follow-up here, Jade said, seriously, the bank wire needed all kinds of paperwork, verifications and garbage. Could have sent it to the office faster than I could sign the doc, and that's definitely true. And it's a whole thing that you have to go down when you're sending these bank wires. Even I'm on the phone with him while he's doing it. He's like, oh, now I got to authorize this and I got to do this, and now the numbers are different. He goes, but as he plugs in the ACH number this time, and it still gave him options. Are you sending an ACH or a bank wire? I'm like, come on. The software can't identify what a bank wire number looks like or an ACH number. They're distinct looking numbers. One has letters, I think one doesn't. They're different accounts, so shouldn't there be some commonality that a bank wire has a certain algorithm of numbers and an ACH looks different so your software can identify automatically? How many people, I can't tell you how many people we've gone through that. That's why as soon as it happened, I said, oh, I know exactly what happened. And you're banking with this bank that seems to have all the issues. So, let's see, Mike Mike's Crypto, what's up? And then I saw Mark from Miami. Good to see you here. Let's see. Brady, what's up? Let's see here. Mike's Crypto. I know I'm a little behind here because I just talked and talked. How can we find out when bank contracts run out with Swift? What do you mean? How they run out with Swift? I know within Swift, it's kind of crazy when you're utilizing Swift. Uh, you're sending money internationally, and there's a lot of criteria because you don't know. So if there's an error in that process when you're sending money overseas, it ties money up, for a long time. Another huge potential for the contracts, for the IOUs or the smart contracts or whatever, is the letter of credit. I mean, the letter of credit to me is probably one of the biggest opportunities to implement blockchain and digital currency. The letter of credit, when you're working with a letter of credit, it's basically two parties. They might not know each other. They specify certain items that certain things have to happen in order for something else to happen. So we sign it up. I'm going to ship, and some of them can be really detailed. I'm going to put your product on this ship. And you're going to put the money in the bank. The money goes to your bank, goes to a third-party holder that's now holding the money. And so now I know the money's there. You know your money's there. You know I have my goods, but the money doesn't go to that bank until my goods are on the shipper, and the shipper notifies this one. And then my goods are transacted, and by the terms of the letter of credit, money can release as the ship is transacting across the ocean, or it can be on arrival to the port, or it could be on the arrival to the port and the unloading of into customs, at which time the customer inspects the goods, signs off on it, money gets released to the seller, and a buyer can then, once the money gets released, can then take his product. So all these things happening within this letter of credit, and they can specify the most minute details, that your cargo ship has to be XYZ, and your and the container has to use wood that doesn't allow the wheat flies, even though you're not shipping wheat, and it's machinery, whatever. And it's all this like little minutia, and you're trying to fill out these contracts and all this bullshit. And then you think about it, if it was on the blockchain, how simple this whole process could be. Cut out all of those people and all the mistakes that happen, and then this doesn't happen, so that doesn't happen, and now my money's tied up, and the product shipping, now it's stuck in customs, and I can't, and that stuff is the reality. That's the reality of what blockchain and crypto is actually bringing to the space. So, what's James? Looks like you got a couple live streams on the go. I know. I think I have another live stream. What's up, Rain? Rain here. So this is live. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's the one we're in, James. I retitled it to Central Bank Digital Currency as a Reality. But yeah, so that was earlier. I was trying to figure that out, and then YouTube kind of screwed things up for me as I was going. So I thought I got rid of it. Man, let me take a look. How many of these do I have going now? How many live streams can I do at the same time? That's the question. Okay, so they both look like they're good. This one still says up and coming. Upcoming. So you know what we're going to do with that one? I'm going to... now I'm afraid to delete it. What if I delete it? It just says scheduled. Oh, it's got 0 views. So let's delete that one forever. If I lose you guys and I delete this video, so be it. I'm deleting you forever. That's it. You're out. Done. Boom. That's it. So we got rid of the bad one. And I'm still here. Look at that. We're still streaming. Let's see here. Sorry. XRP Hodler. Hi, Jeff. What happens if you send it to the wrong wallet address? Would you be able to reverse or get it back? Are we talking about the digital asset? If you send a digital asset to the wrong wallet address, as it stands right now, to me, to answer that question, if that's the direction we're going to, once you send it, that's it. You're pretty much done. But But this is I think the most crucial point in order for mainstream adoption, is that in order to get mainstream business, mainstream whatever, in this case mainstream America, mainstream Europe, mainstream Asia, I don't know, wherever you are, you want them to engage in utilizing digital currency. It can't be done the way it's done today. The majority of people need to know that they're protected. They need to know that if I send you money, that if there's a mistake, that I can fall back on someone, I can get that money back. I think a lot of this can be done, if I'm not mistaken, through a smart contract type of system. Their IOUs, as I kind of understand them, as you're moving currency and it's being converted into another currency. But if I'm transacting, there could be a smart contract wrapped around it that's based on maybe the credit holders, so the credit card and the banks. As the currency is going through, there's a release period. So, and that's what, like right now with a credit card, if you think about it, you swipe your credit card, then you've paid the money because it's on your credit card. The seller gets money through the batch, but the clearance of that money hasn't happened yet. So your bank credit card is authorizing that you have credit that is then being utilized to give X person money, so the seller money. This person gets the money that's still held on a credit term, because if I decide I'm going to do a chargeback to that seller, that money gets yanked out of his account due to the chargeback back to the credit card that's now protecting the buyer's interest. So there's a lot of mechanism in place that as we move into there has to be that third party that's holding and managing that. Now, interesting, because if you're in the U.S. and you've ever used Zelle, Zelle has been utilized by different banks, and Zelle allows you to move money from party A to party B, pretty much zero cost. But you can use Zelle if you have the person's phone number. You can find them if you have their email address. Once you send the money to that person, the transaction is completed, done. There's no way to retract it. And they tell you, once you send the money, make sure it's going to the right person, because once you send it, it's done. You're not getting it back. Same thing with digital currency. So the normalization concept of sending money like this is happening, where, okay, I'm getting more and more comfortable with sending via Zelle, and I understand that I'm not getting my money back. If I give somebody a check, they cash the check, you can still do a reverse on it. There's all those little mechanisms in place where the bank is actually protecting you, not protecting you, what have you. But there needs to be this mechanism in place in order for normalization to happen. So hopefully that kind of that's my thought process. Gerald here says, sounds like no need to sell your XRP for fiat, just HODL like we do today's currency. I don't know, man. I'm thinking that, and I mentioned this when we did the roundtable with XRP Venture. One of my thoughts that I had on that space is, if people are so convinced that the digital currency space is the future, why is everybody constantly, not everybody, but why are there people in the space that are promoting the space, talking about off-ramps and exit ramps and needing these massive exit ramps to move the type of currency that you need to move when it hits that number, and you want to yank it all off? I get it. We need to live today. You want to invest. You want to enjoy your investment. You want to take a little piece off, and maybe you invested. You want to go on a vacation. You want to go buy a house, whatever it might be. If you've invested, maybe you're investing for the future. Maybe, since we're in this volatile, speculative market, the confidence level isn't there. I don't know. Everybody has their risk tolerance. But if you're firmly believing in the digital currency space, and fully believing in, let's say, Bitcoin or XRP or Ethereum or whatever that investment might be, that that technology is the technology of the future, meaning that you don't anticipate that when the pricing goes up that it's going to pull way back, which it might. I don't know. We saw Bitcoin go to 20,000 and pull back down to where it's at now, 8,000. But there's some that are saying that it's going to go further than that. If we see a normalization in the space, how are the central bank digital currencies going to impact the other currencies? Is the first in the space, a Bitcoin or an XRP, going to explode? Is there full utility of the XRP through the Ripple solution and beyond? When people start utilizing the XRP ledger, are they really utilizing XRP? So what is the impetus that's going to make that go up? And if you do have full utility, like people are talking about through Ripple, and XRP does increase in value to a certain level, if there's full utility bracing it, it's no longer artificially inflated due to speculation as it was at the end of 2017 going into 2018. When I first got in, hovering around where we are today was my first entry point, around 24 cents. And I sat there and watched it go up to $3 plus. And that was an interesting ramp up, purely based on speculation and hype and FOMO. And then on the other side of it, now we're talking about real life utility solving problems. And if you believe in that utility and you see the utility growing and you see that base being built and you see that value go up because of what's happening, why would you want an off-ramp? Why do we need to bail? Why, just like XRP Hodler said, why wouldn't you just then hold it? What would you do? And I think that's a valid question to think about when we're investing in this space and you're thinking about the technology. Is interesting. Just a quick shout out. Thank you, XRP Hodler, for the $4.99. Appreciate that. I also want to give a shout out. There were a couple others that came in here. There's the other one. We had and I shouted out earlier, but Simon, I bank freely for $7.99. Is that the Australian? Is it the Australian dollar or pound, or I don't know why I can't think of what it is. And King Blue right off the bat with $5 too. Really appreciate all you guys for those contributions to the channel. So I also want to give a shout out. I don't know if Jerry Hall is still in here. I want to give a huge shout out to Jerry Hall. If you guys have been checking out his show, One-on-One with Jerry Hall, he's killing it. Absolutely killing it. Man, he has done. There's a whole slew of interviews that Jerry's done that are sitting right now going through editing. That are going to start rolling out. We got another amazing interview that's coming out on Saturday, and it's just going to keep coming out. Saturday. I think we have another one coming out Sunday, One-on-One with Jerry Hall, then Wednesday. But we got some big names, really, really big names in the finance space that Jerry interviewed, and it's going to be phenomenal. And I want to say something else, and this really kills me, So here we are, and trying to figure out the algorithm of the YouTube, what is it that attracts people to watch one video over the other, come to one live stream over another live stream. I don't know. I know a lot of people love the hype. They like the FOMO. They like all that stuff. We get a lot of serious people that want to learn and contribute. And it's awesome. Love it. But yesterday, Jerry dropped one of the most significant videos that I've seen in a long time. And he's got another one coming out with someone that was in Costa Rica. But that video that he made, you guys got to go check it out. Go check out the one on Venezuela. There were two of them. Go check out our other channel. If you haven't seen the other channel, you guys got to go check it out. But you can find links to the other channel right in the description of this video. But this video, and it's also on Coil. If you go to coil.com/u/on-the-chain, you can go see some of our Coil after shows and beyond the show. But the reason why I bring this up, so Jerry interviewed this guy in Venezuela. This guy was put in jail for mining Bitcoin. Put in jail for mining Bitcoin. And we have a segment that we put out. We pulled out a clip. So we have these long videos, and now we're also editing out some shorts. We're calling them shorts that are like 3 to 5 to maybe 6 minute long. You're gonna see a bunch of BitTrue shorts drop pretty soon. I pulled out 6 of them from our interview with Kuris Wang, but Jerry's interview with this guy in Venezuela, absolutely phenomenal. And then in that short clip, Daniel's the guy he interviewed in Venezuela, was talking about the insanity of the Venezuelan petro and the fact that you can't even use the bolivre to transfer into the petro and the whatever, all this confusion and insanity around it. And that's when you realize, man, oh man, how bad it is in some countries. In a country, sorry, I keep looking down at the stream. I know my camera's up here, so you guys are probably like, what the hell is he looking at? And I've got the stream on my phone. I should just put it, I don't know why I don't have it up here. I should have the stream up here on the computer. But anyhow, so just so vital. And there's going to be others coming out. Yeah. So anyhow, let me what country is the scene in the background? Let's see. No, that's Lake Como. That's Italy. That behind me is I forget what town that was. I'm not sure that I don't think that's Bellagio, but one of the towns, which was awesome. I love it over. That's an absolutely outstanding place. If you guys get a chance to go, if you're going anywhere in Italy, you got to go to the north. I didn't go to Venice, didn't want to go to Milan. I wanted the small town, relaxation, went to Lake Como, absolutely fantastic. People are amazing. Food is amazing. I've been to Italy in the southern part, south of Rome for work, but that was my first time actually in Italy on vacation, and it was great. And I decided not to go to the big cities over there. We had driven down from Zurich and all that, so it was cool. Let me see here. Let's see. Mike's Crypto. I don't know. I missed some of this, but would NASDAQ be running an unregistered securities index? I don't think so. Yep. Gerald, let's see. Just curious, Jeff, because BitPay has BTC, Ether, what does that say? BCH and XRP as payment currencies. Just curious about what? I don't get that. Can you rephrase that? That'd be great. Rain, there's a book that talked about the virus coming in 2020. I saw that. An old book from Dean Koontz. That's crazy. You need a fishing rod. Yeah, that's right. We do some fishing back here. I wanted a little bit of a change from the normal HODL review studio that you guys get with the staircase and everything. So wanted something a little nice to look at, a little different here. So Dan, what's up? A little late, better late than never. Rector, what's up? Here we go. You're watching a movie. Okay, let's see. All right, I guess I'm at the bottom of the chat. I didn't realize that. I'm at the very, very bottom. So that's awesome. How much time went by here? Oh my, it's like an hour. I swear, time flies by. You start engaging and talking, and we're hanging out. And all right, so since we got everybody here, unfortunately, no deep dive episode tonight. Next week, 10 p.m. Thursday, we will have a deep dive episode. However, DNI, Digital Nomad Investor, had his official wedding this week and had family and everybody in town. So no deep dive tonight at 10 p.m. So I decided to live stream instead. Created all sorts of havoc and confusion with the new YouTube setup. I think I'm going to have to go through that again and figure out how we get it out there the right way, because it surely wasn't the way I tried to do it. Didn't work exactly as planned. So there we go. if XRP was a security, so we're talking about the security, would that mean XRP would be listed? So it would have to be, so if it was a security, doesn't necessarily mean that it would be an official stock to be listed on the stock exchange. It's just meaning that it meets the criteria of a security. So there's different tests to determine if an investment or something like this falls under certain regulation. And so that's if it's a security, that just means that it meets the criteria of what a security is. And really what that, if you look at it, there's some of the tests date back, we're talking about like from the 40s and before. So they apply these tests, and so they're looking to see if your investment that you're making in something is your return on it is based on the work of others. That's one of the tests. And so if it meets that criteria, meaning that I'm investing expecting that the value of XRP is going to increase directly due to what Ripple is doing as Ripple of a company, meaning that I'm going to directly benefit in the valuation of XRP because Ripple is either making money or not making money. They're doing well or not doing well. And so that would then deem it a security based on certain tests. And if that's the case, they then sold XRP and promoted XRP without it being regulated under the terms of a security by the SEC, blah, blah, blah. And now all of a sudden, if they didn't, now they have to work with the SEC and comply, meaning that in most cases, when that happens, they're paying everything back. It doesn't automatically turn it into a stock. Interesting, though, I thought about this a lot, and I'm wondering, which is an interesting thought process. Don't know if it would actually work this way. Probably wouldn't, but just something to think about, that if, let's say, it was deemed a security, and if Ripple is to issue and launch an IPO, would Ripple offer people an opportunity to either have their XRP converted into actual stock, or would the SEC force them to give back every dollar, whatever you spent on XRP, they would have to return it. And that's kind of what's happened with a number of the companies out there that had gone through court with the SEC, and the SEC did rule that in fact their ICOs were actually securities, and they had to return all the money. The issue that Ripple is facing, it's interesting because the court is ruling on it. It's a liberal court in California. They're throwing out whatever. They still need to go through the official court. So everything that's been dropped up to this point, you can try to read the 300-page docket and try to get some understanding of it. But oh well. But I believe that they're very. Hang on. Ripple is in a position where, out of all the companies out there, they've really structured it in such a way that they have a government regulatory team. They're in DC. They're lobbying. They're focused on every aspect of regulation and making sure they do things by the book. Here they are also working towards unseating SWIFT. There's so many variables behind what they're doing. They've definitely gone through and dotted their I's and crossed their T's on pretty much everything. Most likely, in my opinion, they're going to win the court case. It's going to be thrown out, and they're not going to be. It's not going to be deemed a security, and so that's my opinion on it. whatever happens at this point. But that's my opinion. So let's see, Simon. What do you think about Ripple paying MoneyGram 11 million to use ODL? That's awesome. I mean, when they bought into MoneyGram, there was a purpose behind it. MoneyGram was utilizing a segment of the solution. They weren't using all of it. A very small percentage of transactions were going through the Ripple solution. They had extra money set aside, for development for MoneyGram. If the money was spent in, I don't think it was bribe money. They already own a percentage of it. I believe that they needed more money. They needed to develop. They needed to roll out. It's not, hey, here's 11 million, now do it. Think about what it takes to migrate off of a legacy system. So it's not just, today we're using this legacy system and we flip the switch and now we're over on this Ripple system. What it is that we're on this legacy system and it costs money, time, and resources to change and start utilizing this great new system. In order to do that, it costs money. And so there's your transition. There's the money that's needed. There's the implementation, and that's awesome. And so that's what's going on over there. And even in the banking space, you think about banks that are trying to get into utilizing, they're using the Ripple solution. They implement Ripple. They get everybody comfortable and confident utilizing Ripple. Now they understand they already have the solution. They're already doing better. ODL is wrapped into it. Now it's an easier transition to say, okay, now click. Now we're using ODL. So I'm fired up about what's going on with MoneyGram. You need proof cases. You need to show that the system is working the way it needs to work, that the solution is the solution. So I agree with Rain. MoneyGram is huge. I didn't hear that Starbucks bought Seattle's best. Good luck to them. I'm not a big fan of Starbucks. Their coffee is a little not so good. A little bitter. Ripple is 10% of MoneyGram, so they have a seat at the table. Yep. Earnings was not positive. It is what it is. The point is that MoneyGram needs to do things differently. They need to survive. They need to take on Western Union. They need to compete in the legacy market, and they're going to do well. So that's awesome. Look at that. Chip doesn't even know I'm live streaming. Let me tell him that I've been for the past hour. Hang on here. He doesn't. How do people not get the alerts? I don't get it. That's so crazy. Send him a little nudge there. I figured people would get it, and it goes live. Let me see here. Mike's Crypto. They just keep the FUD and security issue to keep regular people out. Once custodial services available, everything is revealed in a price hike. That's right. Don't forget the Brinks connection to paper cash. WB. Good point. Pete's Coffee. I've had Pete's Coffee before. And by the way, Pete's Coffee, if you've ever seen a Capital 360 bank, Capital 360 used to be branchless. Capital 360 has opened up bank branches that are coffee shops that sell Pete's Coffee. And if you have a Capital 360 account, I think you get 50% off the coffee. So if you find yourself in front of one of those, go in if you like that stuff. So deep dive shows with DNI got you shadow banned. What? I didn't get shadow banned. I'm still here. Let's see. Oh, alerts. I got to see what that says. Let's say, after being in Italy, of course, all their coffee tastes like shit. That's true. I'm spoiled. So I think I said this on one of the other shows, but for the longest time, I had a friend of mine bringing in Segafredo. Segafredo is an Italian coffee, really good quality. You can get Segafredo in some parts of the U.S. You can't get the commercial version of the espresso. It comes in a black bag. It's the highest quality. It's like $50 for a 2-pound bag, and the quality is amazing. So then I'm on this mission. I say, okay, whenever he comes into town, which is often, so I say, okay, bring a bag of the Segafredo. Oh, Capital One. Yeah, Capital One 360. Yep, Capital One. So Capital One has Pete's Coffee. They have coffee shops. But so the Segafredo was good. And then I was sitting, we're out with a friend of mine, and we're talking about coffee, and we're looking on Amazon at a review of coffees. I don't know how we ended up on Amazon. Discovered Death Wish. Death Wish, by far one of the best espresso coffees you can get. Phenomenal. It's rich, better than Illy. Illy is decent. The Death Wish is almost on par with Segafredo. Segafredo is on a different level, but the Death Wish is almost on par. Cuban coffee, not so much. I used to like Cuban coffee, but Cuban coffee, it's almost like espresso. The beans aren't, I don't know if they're roasted the same way, the quality. But the problem is with that espresso, it's or the Cuban coffee, you have to put sugar in it. You have to cook it. You have to cook it a certain way. It's kind of like I used to love Turkish coffee. I was the king of making Turkish coffee. Put a little cardamom in it. There's a process. I learned from a friend of mine from Lebanon on how do you have to cook the coffee. So I'd sit around with a bunch of my friends. We'd cook the coffee, and you're drinking. It's like half coffee, half sugar. Come home at night from going out at the bars or whatever, and you're sitting there making coffee, drinking Turkish coffee that's half 50% sugar. It's absolutely outstanding. So I don't know why I'm talking with my hands. I'm looking at myself on the screen. My hands are flailing all over the place. So Notorious XRP, what's up? Yo, thank you for that support for the channel. Appreciate that. Dan, Capital One's the only bank that'll give you a credit card. And maybe they need to rethink that. I don't know. Well, if you got their credit card, now you can go to their bank branch and you get 50% off coffee. So that's a good deal. And it looks like Chip made it in. I don't know how Chip made it back in here. Amazing coffee coming out of Africa. There's a different Ethiopian blends, and good place for coffee to be made. Is this a coffee channel or a crypto channel? I don't know anymore, Zach. I kind of lost focus. I think we'll focus on the crypto coffee. What's the easiest way to move coffee through the blockchain and get it going? So let's see what we got here. Chip, I'm going to start the XRP Minute live stream again. By the way, I don't know if you guys heard this, but Chip is actually thinking about starting up another live stream as well. I believe he's even thinking about doing this on Tuesday evenings. We're going to have an XRP Minute live stream evening going on here. So let me run this down. I need to round this thing out. We've had a lot of fun. We're running on an hour and a half. Losing my voice right now. I got the wind blowing over here. It was like 59 degrees today. Beautiful day today. And so all sorts of great things. I was trying to think, and Rain brought that up, IBM Stellar for coffee. When you think about supply chain, think about blockchain, think about the ease of which you can transact payment, and coffee just this, I think so. Zach, this is why we were talking about coffee, because coffee is one of those things that it's critical that it goes and it's monitored for authenticity. So I was reading this article once about coffee. I'm not a coffee snob in any way, just like espresso. Typically better than the brown water you drink out of the drip coffee. I don't know how you can call it coffee, but it's just brown water. Anyhow, so I'm reading this article, and they said that if you get pre-ground coffee. A lot of times those big cans of Folgers or whatever, they were analyzing the dirt to coffee ratio, and what they found was that many of those pre-ground coffee cans had a higher percentage of dirt than what they should have, that shouldn't even exist in coffee, and they were offsetting coffee. That's why it's always better to grind your own if you have that opportunity, or just make sure you stick with high quality coffee to begin with. So Darcy B, what's up? I know you were in here before. I meant to say what's up, and I just saw you put a comment in there. So the critical aspect, the importance of having supply chain, blockchain technology to track the authenticity of the product from the grower all the way through the process, which brings me to another final thought on all of this. How do we round this out with, we have the CBDCs, we've got the governments looking at cryptocurrency, digital currency. We got Ripple working on cross-border payments. You've got Stellar working on micropayments. You've got talks from Facebook and Libra and all of this stuff. But forget about all of those things are important. Think about the significance of the blockchain technology, what it means for business. We talked about real world. I told you my story from today, but think about real world. The person, these families on these farms, whether they're in Colombia or wherever they might be in the world where they're growing coffee beans, it's this tight family. They own the fields. They're harvesting the fields. They're drying the beans. They're then selling the beans. There's a bigger wholesaler that comes and buys beans from all of these smaller businesses. That small business has so much value because they're the beginning stage. They need to be compensated for the value of the product that they're selling, and they need to be identified to the quality of the product as part of the process. Through the blockchain, every stage of the process gains value and recognition for the contribution thereof, and allows us as a consumer to then go back and track the process all the way back to the beginning. So if they talk about, there's all these terms that get thrown out, by the lefties, but we think about sustainability and how important sustainability is. How important sustainability is to the growth sector and agriculture. Sustainability, don't jeopardize the land that you're tilling, making sure that you're growing your product, organically, not overutilizing pesticide, making sure you're providing a quality product, quality outcome. The consumer cares. I don't want to consume a ton of pesticides and all that other stuff, but I want to be able to trace it back. That's blockchain. Then you have the cryptocurrency payments, allow people to get paid immediately on transition of the product. So money moves a lot freer. People are getting paid based on the value of the product. It changes everything, and it all starts from coffee. That's why coffee is so significant. Zach, that's why I was talking about coffee. I just brought that whole part up. But hey, all right, so let me round this out. We're at the hour and a half. I'm diving into DNI territory. In order for me to do that, I would have to go a minimum of 2 hours. And I'm 30 minutes shy of that mark. Once you hit 2 hours, there's no looking back, because you got to go 3. Then once you go 3 hours, if you do 3.5, you got to go 4. And then if you go 4 hours, you go a minute over 4, you might as well go 30 more minutes. If you do the 30, you got to go 5. Then you're done. Then you got like almost the whole day in a stream. So I appreciate everybody from coming on. It's awesome. It's been absolutely outstanding. James Ryan says, I've had the same confusion between ACH and wire transfers. The current remittance system is a joke, totally useless, absolutely crazy. Chip, How do you know I don't do a non-show for the other group? What? Exactly. So anyhow, so check this out. So we've got all sorts of shows coming up. No deep dive tonight. Let me throw that out there again. No deep dive coming up in 30 minutes. DNI is his official wedding is today or this week. Sorry. The new deep dive 10 p.m. next Thursday. You've got a roundtable coming up on Sunday. The roundtable we do for Sunday is going to be outstanding. So we have an amazing guest coming on. You guys I don't know, you've seen him in our chats, Nick Black. The guy is a wealth of knowledge on the financial side. He's going to be on with us. I've got the dehumidifier going, and now it's getting super dry in here. So we've got Saturday. Saturday we have some content coming from one-on-one with Jerry Hall. Sunday I think we have some more content coming from Jerry, one-on-one with Jerry Hall. And then going into next week, a lot of great things. We have Monday night off the block. We have an interview with Edan from Upland. If you guys haven't checked out Upland, it's the real estate game. We interviewed the CEO of Upland. Check that out. We have 6 shorts from the Bitru interview. We're breaking down that Bitru interview into little 3-minute clips, so you guys can go watch that. This is why I don't go an hour and a half. Humidifier, fan, I got all this stuff around me, and it's drying me out. So that's it. That's what we got going on. We got tons of great stuff going on here. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate all you guys. Upland.me. Go check that out. Check us out Monday night, 10 p.m. We're going to be doing that interview. Appreciate all y'all. And I think I'm out of here. And that's it. That's it for tonight. That was an awesome live stream. I look forward to the next one. I'll see you guys soon.